create more of like a bit of a fireside chat around this talk, around focusing on leading with purpose. We've got 4 amazing women leaders in front of you all here. And I know them individually as well. And I've got some great sort of information about them. But I'm going to ask them just basically one topic, and they're going to share some insightful wisdom with you all. And then we've got one final question at the end, just in terms of takeaways and advice. So Claire, I'm going to come to you. So you're no stranger to Reframe Women in Tech, are you? So back in 2019, just after the birth of your daughter, how old was she?
She was 4 or 5 months old.
4 or 5 months. Took advantage of her childcare back then. And then since then, you progressed into a leadership role at Money Supermarket. What's your role now, Claire?
I'm an engineering manager.
Fantastic, congratulations. So you spent 14 years in a variety of roles before moving on to management. What have you learned along the way about purposeful leadership?
I think one of the main things for me is around authenticity, which I know Jenny kind of touched on. But this is my 20th year in tech, but my leadership journey is still fairly young, and I held myself back really from moving into a leadership role for quite a long time, because I felt that I was I wasn't kind of managerial enough, I wasn't authoritative enough, I was too emotional. When Katie talked about crying in the toilets, been there, my friend. And I didn't know enough. And I think feeling along the way, having encountered a number of really strong leaders, for example, kind of Kath Trotter, who was on stage earlier, it really helped me to see that actually being myself and kind of bringing my kind of personality and all my flaws and quirks to my role is really, really important. I've had some leaders along the way, some managers that it's kind of almost like they're regurgitating a management textbook to you, and you can feel that sort of lack of authenticity, and it doesn't help to build trust, because you don't feel like you're kind of getting to know them, or they're kind of being themselves with you. And so I think that's been a really kind of big thing for me. One of the other things would be around you don't have to know everything as a leader. So my background is in software testing, and I've done that for quite a number of years. And when I was looking for my next role, moving into the kind of engineering manager leadership role, one of my main concerns is I'm not just going to be managing and leading kind of testers, I'm going to be managing developers and tech leads. I've written some dodgy code in my career, and I was going to be managing all these people that have infinitely more knowledge, technical knowledge than I do. And I think that kind of realizing that actually I don't need to be the kind of the guru, the Jedi master of knowing everything about coding, or teaching these people how to be better developers. That's not what I'm there for. It's to kind of help build them up, facilitate opportunities for them to grow in their careers, support them when they need it. I think accepting that has been a massive kind of lesson for me, and it's really helped me kind of feel confident moving into that role, as well as kind of having the support of my kind of managers, being able, and them kind of supporting me in that, being able to move into that role. So.
That's really interesting when you talk about not having to know it all. I think if you look at any sort of research, women particularly feel that they need to know everything. I think we all know around the statistic around job descriptions, women have to tick out 90%, where men are more likely only to know 65 to 70%. But it's something that I've definitely learned from a leadership role, and you hire the experts. So a bit like what Jenny was talking about leading, you're hiring those particular people for that, for that role. So hire those talented people. And I think sometimes people are concerned about hiring people that are better than you. I think it's great, absolutely great, because they're actually experts in their own particular area as well. Just on that authenticity piece, because you get talked about it a lot, about being an authentic leader. What does that mean to you?
I think it means I feel like I can be myself in conversations with people that I'm kind of managing. I can show emotion. I can be transparent about my flaws, about the things that I do and don't know, and the things I can and can't kind of do for them. And that, you know, I'm not kind of, I feel like I'm not putting up a front with them, and I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. And I think that's really kind of given me confidence, knowing that it's okay to be like that I am enough kind of to be able to do this role.
Yeah, I've got to believe it's that power of vulnerability and being
Definitely.
open and honest.
Absolutely,
and I think, it's a massive strength, that really is. So thank you very much, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maya, moving on to you. So you've had 25 years experience in the technology industry. That's amazing. Congratulations in itself. In the past 9 years, you've taken on various leadership roles. How do you feel leadership styles have changed during your career? Because I think, you know, I can remember, God, about when I started my leadership career about 15 years ago, it was all about like the dictatorship, you know, and do as I say, you know, rather than do as I do. And so how do you strive to be an authentic leader in your own sort of leadership position at the moment?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is a great question. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm proud and honored to be taking part in this event. And this is a great question, Becky. And when I read it a few days ago, it made me think, it made me reflect on my career path, who I am as a leader. So I put some notes here to make sure I don't forget something. So we'll give you a quick whiz through my career, what were my values when I started, and how do I feel as a leader today. So I got my computer science degrees in 1995 in Novi Sad, Serbia. And then I started my career as a software developer there. So then in 2000, with my husband and son, who was 2 at the time, he's 24 now, we moved to UK. So 2 years later, I progressed to the software development manager. And this was my first managerial role. So from then on, I started managing various sizes of the teams. And I was a manager, and you hear me, I'm saying I'm a manager, not a leader. So my values during that stage of my career were very short-term focused. So I was kind of trying to get the job done, I was trying to improve myself technically, I was supporting my teams, but I was the one in the driver's seat. And during that phase of my career, I thought that was the right thing to do, and I was pushing myself really, really hard. So then, in 2013, I joined Booking.com, and that was a big milestone in my career. So Booking played a part in my transformation from a manager to a leader. So Booking helped me to identify myself, to find myself, to find my identity as a leader. So when I think my values today haven't changed much. I just learned to understand them and use them as my strengths as a leader. So my leadership philosophy is about people first. I try to have an empathy in people. When I'm talking to my teams, I try and I work hard to get them to succeed and grow and excel. So I see myself as approachable, open, transparent, and with optimistic lens by default. I look positive in people, and if someone is behaving differently, I try to understand what is driving that behavior rather than judge. So I try to understand, not judge. So I have a high level of energy and bias for action, but over the years, I try to channel that energy in actually coaching my teams to succeed and get them into the driver's seat. So building trust is a key for running a successful organization. So honesty and trust drives honesty and trust in return, and that's my big motto. And the last one, I feel I have a strong inner compass of doing the right thing, and I influence my teams in doing the same. So I truly believe that leading in this value-focused way works. So to measure that, I use my instincts, but I also use the data. So at Booking, we have a quarterly employee surveys that we run, where we ask people how do they feel, how engaged they are, and my recent results are amazing. I will share with you just a couple of these. 96% of people in my org feel that their manager cares for them as a person. or 95 say that ethical conduct is highly valued at Booking.com. So these are really things that matter, that people feel safe, people feel valued at work, and if they feel safe and if they feel valued, they will be happier, they will be more engaged, and they will perform at their best. So in closing, today I feel more confident and self-aware as a leader, but I will continue to refine my leadership style to grow, to help grow my unique personal brand.
Fantastic. I love how you started that by talking about reflection.
Yes.
And it really sounds like you spent a bit of time. Sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you're just so busy, aren't you, in terms of obviously leading a team. And sometimes you talk about developing your people within your team, but you don't really spend that time on yourself, do you? So I bet it was quite a really interesting exercise to really start to, because you talked about your values, understanding those, connecting to what values then has led you to be that sort of leader that you are now.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I absolutely enjoyed it. It's really, truly made me really rethink and actually realize some of my kind of behaviors and how I evolved and transformed throughout the, this journey of 25 years.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. And Jenna, moving on to yourself. So you're fairly new into the leadership position, but you have had an established career working for some very large organisations. So you've probably been led by very, very many different types of leaders. What have you learned from that experience, and what have you took away to become the leader you are today?
Well, my journey into tech started when I was like 19. I got my first proper job in the NHS, which is a huge organisation. And the management that I had there were really into policy and procedure, and everything had to be done to the letter. You know, you're dealing with patients at the end of the day. But on the flip side of that, there wasn't really any room for you to have your own opinions and shape anything. So like when it came to the opportunity to go and do a degree, what I needed a day release for, I wasn't allowed to go on day release for that. I had to take a half a day and then pay those hours back. So I just felt really stifled in my career. After a few years, I ended up line managing this team in the NHS. And I managed the way that I'd been managed because it's all I knew and just thought it was normal and that was just what you had to do. And I absolutely hated that job. I hated managing people because I was really bad at it because I was just going off what other people had done before me. And, you know, when I left that position in the NHS, I just said, I never want to manage people again. So moving on to the BBC, where I spent 10 years, in technical positions, I was a tester first, then software developer in test, then software engineer. And I had some really amazing, inspirational, encouraging leaders there. And it was just like, oh, this is really different. This is like, you're encouraging me to do what now? You're letting me go on this course, and what, you want me to apply for a promotion? What? You know, it was like, this was really, really new to me, and it was just amazing that they saw me as a human being that had a life outside of work, and it wasn't all just about that. Because like when I was in the NHS and I had no responsibilities and I was living at home with my mum, like work was my life, and that all kind of changed in 10 years at the BBC. Then I was like commuting as well at the time, 4 hours a day just to get into the office and back, and that really takes its toll on you, like physically, mentally. And when I was pregnant, that just became completely unsustainable. But my manager saw that and really allowed me to be more flexible, and it really takes the pressure off. So when the opportunity came up to lead the team that I'd been part of for a couple of years in 2019, I had kind of a new understanding of what it meant to be a leader, and wanted to take the challenge to kind of do it again, but in a completely different mindset. So to take all of those mistakes that I'd had from like bad leadership, well, not even leadership, like some of the other people on the panel said, yeah, it's management, not leadership, and kind of take those good bits from all of the amazing encouraging leaders that I'd had forward into my journey, and kind of lead them through. So I guess now I've been at DAZN for 7 months, and I think that my technical background in all those areas allows me to have like a real empathy with my team, I think that when people feel like valued and listened to, that they just naturally want to do the best that they possibly can. And you know, you don't really have to deal with them performance managing people because they're just wanting to do their best anyway. And you can really focus on helping them get through their career goals and, you know, blocking and making them progress and taking any blockers out of the way and just really helping people. I feel like that perspective of my tech background is really key to being the leader that I want to be. I also find, like, have a hard time with, like, the levels of sharing information versus shielding people from the background noise, and I often get that wrong. I really never know where to pitch it, but I find that, like, having a really close relationship to my product manager and my other peers helps me get better at that, because I strive to have teams that are, like, really open communication, like have a real mission that's, like, a purpose based on a mission. Like, have trust and mutual respect for each other, psychologically safe, like other people have said, flexible in, like, their approach and the response, and that also are, like, challenged at the right level to keep them enthusiastic and motivated and want to continuously learn. I'm really new in my leadership journey, only in, like, the 3rd year, so I don't know how to do half of what I've just said. But,
I'm sure you do.
I'm
sure you
continuously
do.
learning and trying to get better at it.
Well, I think leading is all about learning. I'm sure everybody agrees. Are you actually enjoying it now? That's amazing.
I think
Oh, that's good.
I've actually found the job that I'm really passionate about.
Fantastic.
And, like, I've done all of these different technical journeys and then found, like, leading teams and just like, oh wow, I should have been doing this all the time, but the first time I did it I was really bad at it, so.
It wasn't bad, you didn't have the greatest role model, did you? So yeah, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Jenna. And Susanna, moving on to you. So a slightly different story. So you're often, we often hear you say that you're not part of a tech or a tech startup, but we both know that that's definitely wrong. For those of you who don't know, Susanna has recently sold her organisation, OneFile, a very successful organisation. So what have been your learnings throughout that journey, and what you taking forward into whatever you might be doing next?
Yeah, so thank you for having me today. So I'm Susanna Lawson. I'm ex-CEO, but always founder of OneFile. I'm having to get used to that. I'm only 4 months into my exit. We founded OneFile 17 years ago in our back bedroom in Burnage, and we grew it to a team of over 80, and we're in EdTech. So as Becky said, I was probably 12 years into the journey till I even realised I'd founded a tech business. We actually moved offices to Central Park, which is out towards Oldham, and then we moved into the city centre. We'd won a Queen's Award for Innovation, and we had a big team, and people started asking me to speak at these tech events, and I'm like, what? I don't know why am I at? And that's when I had the realisation that we had founded an actual tech company. So the things that I learned over the years, and Jenny's a good friend of mine, and hearing her speak, I can understand why. We've had a bit similar journey. We hold similar values and ideas about leadership, but the values and the culture of a business are absolutely integral, because if you don't set the culture as the leader, the culture will manifest itself in a way that you don't expect necessarily, and then it's a lot harder to unpick it. So understanding what the culture is that you want to build and that you want to have in the organisation, and what the values are. So the OneFile values were and still are respect, integrity, compassion, courage and creativity. And they're not just about posters on a wall. As the leader, as the CEO, I talked about the values all the time. If I made a decision, I deferred back to the values and why I'd made that decision. I ask for feedback. I'm human. I sometimes mess up too. And if I have said something disrespectfully, then I would want that feedback that I had done that, because everybody is only human, and we need to take and receive feedback well. And again, being that role model, if the leaders in the organisation aren't embedding and encompassing those values, then you're not going to expect anybody else in that organisation to either. I really like what Sarah said earlier about the celebrating the successes. So I started through my coach at the beginning of the year. I've started every night night, I jot down a small success. Sometimes it's just, I had a nice sandwich for lunch. There wasn't a major thing. Sometimes it's a big thing. But there's a little thing every day that you can take pleasure from that went well. And at first, I had to set a reminder, an alarm on my phone because I couldn't forge the habit. But now it's just become, after 3 weeks of having an alarm, it's become habit, and it's just something I do before bed now. So again, it's just changing that mindset because you have to rewire to form a new habit. But it is something that actually we did at OneFile. So at the beginning of a weekly meeting with the sales and marketing team, we had a what went well. So therefore, you start the meeting in a positive mind frame. Instead of coming with the problems, we start, what one thing went well with everybody last week? And it might be a work thing, it might be a personal thing, and then also which value did you encompass or show last week? So again, it's just banging that drum, that communication over and over and over again. And very similar to Jenny, what we did was we flipped our recruitment process. So we also brought a values interview in as well. And if you didn't meet the values interview, then you wouldn't get the job, even if you were the best technical person for the job in the world. And I'm glad the young girls have gone. And Jenny dropped the S-bomb later, because earlier. So I was going, oh, should I say it? But I learnt the phrase, it's better to have, in recruitment, it's better to have a hole than an arsehole in your business. So you're better off having a vacancy and not rushing to fill it than to fill it with the wrong person, because the time it takes to unpick and get that wrong person out of the business, the damage is done, and it's incredibly, incredibly difficult. So I'm glad the girls have gone.
Brilliant. I think we're all going to be quoting that.
Yeah.
Today.
And then the other thing that I looked at for the business, which was really important to me, was we weren't just a one-trick business. So I looked at the business in a holistic sense. So I didn't just want to be about revenue and profitability. I didn't just want to be about, all the team happy, but we're not making any money. So we had the 4 pillars of OneFile, so like a house. So we have the company, which is revenue, profitability. We have colleague, so we look at net promoter score of the colleagues, engagement of the team, learning and development opportunities, and all of that good stuff that everybody's looking for. We have customer, because you've got to look after the customer. So again, net promoter score, customer satisfaction scores, retainment of customers, because again, there's no point having a massive pipeline of new business if they're dropping out the bottom and it's costing you a fortune just to find new business. You have to retain your customer base. And finally was community. So it was always important to me, even before I had the business, but I knew when we were still in our back bedroom that as soon as we were big enough, I wanted to be giving back to the community. So, speaking at events like this, everybody at OneFile had a day to work in the community to volunteer. So some of the developers did coding schools with kids at half term. Some of them would do working in homeless organisations or working with getting women back into employment. So the 4 pillars, as I said, company, colleague, customer, and community. And we built the whole business based on that.
Fantastic. Really a lot of information to take away in just such a short few minutes. So thank you so much. Just before I round up the panel, I'm going to come to each of you. What's one quality that you would say makes a successful leader? Sorry, Jen, I'm going to come to you.
I think it's just like honesty.
Honesty. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Maya?
Be genuine.
Genuine. Brilliant. Claire?
Caring about people.
Caring about people. Susanna?
Just quickly, I learned quite a big thing. I always thought I wanted to be liked.
Yeah.
But I learned it wasn't like I wanted to be respected. And I once, again, it's not a swear word, this one. I once sort of thing, you can't be liked by everybody. You can't be everyone's cup of tea, or else you'd be a complete mug. And once I shifted my mind frame to that, I can't be liked by everybody, but I want to be respected. That made a massive impact on my professional career.
Brilliant. Another one we'll be quoting. I think we need to employ you for the day of one-liners. Please, with me, give everyone a clap. Thank you so much.